What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about 5 ways you can use other people's money to fund your real estate deals. Now, the first one is the most common. It's called conventional financing. So basically what you do is put a 20% down payment on a house for an investment property. Now, if you're living in the house and doing a house hack, you can actually go as low as 3 to 3.5% down payment. But because it's owner occupied, it allows you to basically get in for very, very low cash and have the other tenants that, your roommates basically pay the mortgage. So that's a very common strategy. Conventional financing, unfortunately, has a lot of rules behind it set by two government sponsored enterprises called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac basically says things like you can't have a credit score below this, you can't have a debt to income ratio above this. And these rules kind of make it hard sometimes for some people who have maybe low income or are self-employed to get a loan. Or sometimes even on fixer-upper houses, it's harder to use conventional financing because banks and lenders don't like lending, or traditional banks and lenders don't like lending to a house that's going to be a potential liability for them because it has a lot of things that need to be repaired. The second type of other people's money that you can use is called private money lending. This could be like family members, relatives, maybe an investor you know. The key is to create a win-win scenario. So maybe promising them 8% return on their investment for the first 10, 15 years or something like this, right? And what I would say you can do is actually do a personal guarantee where you're personally liable that you'll pay back that loan no matter what, even if you have problems with the house, even if you're not getting rent a particular month or whatever due to vacancy, you still promise the investor 8% per year or something like this. So it's very important that you know what you're doing when you take on private money lenders, right? Because if you do personally guarantee a loan, then they can come after you if you fail to make those payments. The third one you can use is called hard money lending. And I usually don't recommend hard money lending unless you're like a flipper or you're doing a BRRRR or something like that, because hard money lending comes with a large price tag, right? 8 to 12% interest rate typically is the going rate for it. It's a little bit different than private money lending in that you don't have so much of a relationship with the hard money lender necessarily versus private money. You probably know them personally a little bit more. Hard money lending is also very institutionalized, so there's rules behind it, and you have a lot more contracts that you have to sign and paperwork to make sure that you're going to pay back that money. But potentially it has less restrictions than conventional financing because you can have hard money lending on a fixer upper. You can have hard money lending even though your credit score is not as great, right? So they're a little bit more flexible because of they don't have to follow the rules of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac necessarily. The next one I want to talk about is actually one of my favorites, is portfolio lending. What you can do is go to like a local small bank or credit union. Usually these guys will offer something called portfolio lending, where basically you're not having to follow Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac rules because that bank keeps that loan in their portfolio. Now, normally a loan is actually sold off to the secondary market through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. But if you do a portfolio lender, they'll actually keep the loan in their portfolio. So that means they don't have to obey Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac rules, which means that they can basically give you a loan even though your debt to income ratio is too high or your credit score is too low, etc. So they're a lot more flexible. The last type of other people's money that you can use is called a lease option sandwich. And to set this up, basically you create this contractor with someone selling you the house, potentially selling you the house, and you have the option of purchasing that house at a set price up until a set expiration date. So let's just say I do an option contract for 5 years down the line. all the way up until the end of 5 years, I'm allowed to purchase that property at a set upon price, agreed upon price, if I do a lease option contract with that seller. And what a lot of people do is they'll do a lease option contract. So they'll basically partly own the property in a way. A lot of the payments will actually go towards some of the principal on the property when they eventually buy the property, or go towards closing costs. So you're essentially saying, like, I'm going to be likely buying this property. And so what you do is you pay the owner, the seller, the amount agreed upon in the lease option, basically as a monthly rent in a way. And what you do then is now you kind of own this property in a sense, and you go out and you rent it out to other people, and you rent it out for more than the price that you are paying the owner. So let's say you're paying the owner $1,000 a month for the lease option, or the lease option contract to be valid, and then you go out and rent by the bedroom, each $600 each, and you have 4 bedrooms, so you're renting out for $2,400, and you basically collect the difference. So you're basically renting it out for $1,000. For yourself, you had to pay $1,000, and then you rent it out for $2,400. So the difference is you're making $1,400 per month. And at the end of the lease option contract, or anytime during the lease option contract, you can say, I actually don't want to purchase this house if you don't want to. So that's the beauty of the lease option contract, is you have options. If you really don't want, if it's not cash flowing, if it's not working, then you can basically nullify the contract and say, I'm not going to buy the house. Or you can move forward with buying the house if you feel like the numbers would work, even if you had a mortgage on the property. So those are the 5 different methods for using other people's money to fund your deals. I hope that was very useful information. And if you like this video, make sure you give a thumbs up and subscribe, and join me on the next video.